It's Alex D. Yep, it's summer. You'll be hearing motorcycles going by and cars, and the quiet little community I live in is suddenly New York City in the summertime. Lots of traffic, motorcycles. I am definitely going to have to move the studio into a quieter room. In the movie industry and in the TV industry, they call that atmosphere. So that those sounds in the background, and we don't add any like the New York Times does to their podcasts. They add special sound effects. Now we don't have to do that because they're natural. This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith. So what I'm going to do is I'm moving the podcasting studio into the smallest room on the property that has the least amount of windows, and hopefully I'll be able to isolate sound. But I'm also going to isolate light in there too, because I'm digitizing in that room. If you haven't been following along, I have a huge, enormous collection of photography that completely describes the rave scene in Canada in the 1990s and early 2000s, the house music scene, the warehouse party scene in Canada. I published a magazine back then called Tribe that was devoted to DJ culture and electronic music, and it later became the Bible of the rave scene. So over the course of the publication, over a dozen years or so, I shot 10, 12,000 photographs on film and slides. And this is film. It has to be digitized. So I launched an Indiegogo project to digitize the collection. Now there's only 2 days left, so please donate anything you can to this project. It's important. The project is to digitize this huge collection. Go to preservethebeat.com and make a donation before Friday, because it'll be over on Friday. So anyway, I launched this fundraising campaign on a crowdsourcing platform. I thought, I could reach out to the readers of the magazine community and the people who used to read the magazine and frequent our online community, Tribe. The message board was a massive message board during that period. I thought I could reach out to the people and they would respond. And I learned some amazing things about myself running this campaign, this fundraising campaign, but also about the communication space and what it's become on the internet. And I'll just outline what I've discovered. I learned so much. I mean, I thought I understood the internet well, and I do. But this is something a lot of people don't understand until they try and utilize the internet to spread a message, like a marketing message or a fundraising message, or even just talking to somebody on the internet now. It's all controlled by platforms. And this has changed everything, and people don't understand. I didn't even understand this, and I knew know the internet well, very well. But it's like, this is something I didn't even see. It's like the fish that's in the fish doesn't understand it's in the water, but it is, right? The goldfish is in the bowl. He has no idea he's in water, breathing it, whatever, swimming around in it. He just doesn't understand because it's all around him. It's ubiquitous. It's like there. It's part of life. It's somehow become a part of life intentionally. Corporations have shaped it that way. It's just, I don't even know. Anyway, the fundraising campaign, I launched this fundraising campaign, and the only way to connect to the people that I wanted to reach, I had to think, like, where are they? They're not on the message board anymore. I mean, I still have the message board. I've kept it. I've paid the bills for 30 years to keep it live. It's still there. It's a record of our culture, a text record of our culture in Canada, the birth of electronic music in Canada. The people would would go to the online community. There was no Facebook back then, and there was no social media. There was really no internet websites. We were one of the few in Canada. We were the first magazine online in Canada. So we had this huge online community, and people they would go out and they would hear some DJ on a Saturday night or whatever in a warehouse downtown Toronto or Montreal, and they'd come back onto the board and they would post their experiences at the event and who they saw there and what the music was like and all that. And so it's a record of those experiences. Now, I was in the room shooting photographs too, so I have the visual record of those experiences. So combine these two information sources become an incredibly rich description of Canadian music history. And so this is why I launched this campaign. I thought, wow, how I can't reach out to the message board because nobody goes to message boards anymore. They go to Reddit, of course, but that's different. But themed message boards, like communities based around certain ideas like cooking or music or cars or whatever. And they lost a lot of traffic and a lot of people going to them as soon as Facebook launched. And when Facebook started sucking away all the traffic, a lot of these forums shut down. Mine, I kept going because it's an important record of our culture. And that's why I've kept it going. There are a few people there that use it for communication, and I have a few members that post regularly on it, and I appreciate that because they're great members, and I go there and I post too. Mostly I use it as a notepad. I put a thread up there for my fundraising campaign, it's closed. Nobody can post into it but me, and I used it as a notepad to note the various steps in the fundraising process, like launch campaign, blah blah blah, bought advertising on Facebook, and so all that is time stamped there. So for me to look at later and understand what happened and how I tried, so I could learn at least from my efforts, and also more importantly, that other people can learn from my efforts. So that's what that's there for. They preserve the beat. It's locked to the top of the forum and will be for a little while longer anyway. And here's the thing: the communication space moved. It was all taken, the controls were taken away from us. So before we used to have agency where we could decide where we wanted to go for information. We could decide, I want to communicate with so-and-so, and we could do that with them. Say we wanted to communicate with 30 friends, 40 friends at once. The internet is perfect for this, right? So we would send a mass email to friends, or we'd post a thread on the tribe message board and other people would see it and engage with it. But we've lost all that agency. We post on Facebook, and it's a private walled garden controlled by some eccentric billionaire who feeds his cows macadamia nuts. Now, this is what it's come to, right? We have no control over anything. I learned when as soon as I launched the fundraising campaign that I would have to buy advertising on Facebook in order to connect with the people who used to be even on my message board, but even people who used to go to raves in the past. The only way I could reach them, since they're not on my online community anymore in any volume, they don't even go there to visit anymore. They're all on Facebook. And once on Facebook, Facebook controls who they can communicate with, what they can say, what the content is. They control all that stuff, and they can throttle it, and they do. I mean, there are all these different terms you've heard, like shadow banning and all this stuff, but what it is, it's just throttling. It's control, right, of your message. Once you sign up to a Facebook or an Instagram or one of these platforms, you're in their walled garden, and they can decide who to show your message to, who to show your post to, your picture to. They can not show it to anybody. Like, they could show it to all the wrong people and not the people who you want to see it. Now this is what is happening every day on these platforms. the individual has no agency on them anymore, and no control. Well, sure, they have the illusion of control when they make a post on Facebook or write an Instagram, put a picture up on Instagram. There's a kind of an illusion of control there, but there's no control. Once that goes up there, it's utterly gone. It's at the mercy of whatever Mark Zuckerberg and his minions decide what value it has. So your agency is gone, and your message won't get passed around to your friends unless, of course, you buy advertising. And then you'll start, like, as soon as I launched my fundraising campaign, I started getting deluged with Facebook ads to buy Facebook advertising. Every third post on my own personal Facebook page was buy Facebook advertising, buy Facebook advertising, buy. So anyway, luckily, I have some friends who are supportive of this project, and one of them's a marketer in the States. I believe he is now. He's some kind of digital marketing dude, an extreme smart dude in that area. And he said, look, you're going to have the demographics of the people who used to read your publication are older than the people that are using TikTok, for example. Facebook is the way to reach these people. So you're going to have to buy advertising. And so it's like, okay, so I'd never bought advertising on Facebook before. And I'm very familiar with advertising on the internet, digital advertising, with respect to programmatic advertising. And I used to run a digital advertising network, a small digital advertising network, serving ads into forums around the world, into really large forums. So I understand digital advertising, but Facebook advertising, considering this is their bread and butter, their tools for putting ads into their own network are really bad. They're horrible. The Meta Business Suite, or whatever they call that, what a piece of shit that is to use as a marketer. It's horrible. And it's vague too. And the ads that I bought didn't result in any donations to my campaign. The only donations that I got for my campaign is when I reached out directly to my friends and asked for a donation. Then they donated. They were happy to do so. But what happened when I bought ads on Facebook for this campaign, and I've spent so far maybe about $500 or something on ads and Facebook to spread the message. What happened was, as soon as the ad began running, I started getting spammed from people claiming to be Meta. They were sending me messages and multiple messages a day saying that my page would get taken down because of copyright violation. And with the Meta logo and everything on these messages, it's just scammers and spammers and fraudsters using the Meta logo in their content, right? Like, those of us who've been shadow banned for, our content has been taken down for something stupid, like posting a cannabis leaf or something in an Instagram post. Here Meta's not even taking down people who are pretending to be Meta, who are trying to scam people on their own platform. Like, it's just horrifying. So anyway, the moment I bought advertising on Facebook to promote my fundraising campaign, the very moment the first ad ran, I started getting messages and posts in the group about people claiming to be Meta, trying to, I suppose, get me to pay them money to blackmail me or something into something. I don't know what the fuck they wanted. I just deleted the messages. Or for a while I put them in the spam folder, hopefully trying to train the Facebook AI that this shit was spam. And eventually I sent them a message about it saying, look, every time I buy advertising, this is what happens to me on your platform. Now, I'm not going to buy advertising on your platform just to get scammers sending me Facebook messages. Like, that's stupid. Like, why would I even do that? So what I've learned about this experience is that I had to buy advertising on Facebook, but it doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. Now, I bet your experience is the same. Unless, of course, you are a corporation that can spend millions on advertising on Facebook. Then your ads that you're going to be getting some kind of reaction, measurable reaction for running all those ads. But unless you run billions or millions or huge volume, you're not even going to be able to measure the results you're getting from that. Now, the way they structure their advertising is interesting. It's like they have different ad categories that you can select. Like, you want to generate more likes on your page. No, I don't want to generate. What they're doing is selling you advertising to generate more excitement on their own platform. Like, that's stupid, right? That is absolutely stupid. Like, get more followers on your Facebook page. You know what? Whatever. I have, I don't know, 2,000 or something. None of them are seeing the messages that I post. So if I buy advertising, they're trying to sell me ads to advertise to my own friends, right? And then what's even worse is there's no data. There's no data. They just present some random numbers to you saying, okay, this many engagements, the ad was shown this many times, this many engagement, whatever engagement means. Like maybe the person coughed while looking at it on the screen or whatever. And I have no idea what their engagement metrics even mean. The only one that's clear is the one that's a click through to a web page, and that's the real number to look at. If your ad relates to generating traffic to a web page, which is what mine was. So like, I'm running a fundraising campaign. I want people to leave the Facebook platform to go to the Indiegogo page and make a donation. So this is the ad is the purpose of the ad is to generate that jump off the platform into the Indiegogo page to make a donation, right? That's the whole purpose of buying the ad on Facebook. Now, Facebook is showing these ads to people who will not make that jump. Like, my friends would make that jump if my Facebook friends, but they're not seeing the ad. The people who are seeing the ad are people in India or Kazakhstan, like, who have never been to a electronic music party in their life. Definitely have, they're more interested in scamming me out of money than making a donation to an important cultural cause, right? So there's really no value in buying ads on Facebook for a small fundraising campaign that I can see. Now, by the same token, there would be no value in buying a small for a company, small business. I mean, I don't see any value in that either. You would have to buy a shitload of ads, like millions, in order to get something measurable from it, right? We all tune ads out, right? Even if the ads are well done, or even if they're done in a personal level, like I've tried to make them. If the person is living in Korea, in North Korea, that's seeing the ad, that is like, Jesus, like, as Mark's cows happily munch on their macadamia nuts. Now, this is like I'm just using Facebook as an example here, but they're all like this. All these platforms, they're all walled gardens. They want to keep the people inside the walled garden. They don't want you to leave. They don't want you to leave. So if you're buying ads to get somebody to leave the platform, to visit another site, even just for a second to make a donation, you know what? I think they're gonna be they'll take your money to buy the ads, but they'll show them to different people who are not gonna make that jump. That's what I learned. But they control all the communications now on the internet, right? It's really bad. It's really quite bad. The only spaces now that are free, the only space now that is free is the podcasting space. But, that's only because they haven't figured out a way to insert themselves as middlemen in between. Now, a lot of them are trying, a lot of them are trying to do that. Oh, it's just like, the internet has changed a lot. I'm going to have to do some more thinking about how to communicate with people, because you have to punch through the platforms. You have to reach the people on the platforms, right? You have to clear a path through the platform in order to communicate with people, with your friends even, who are friends with you on these platforms. Text messaging and podcasting. It seems to be the only thing that is outside of the clutches of these people, these corporate like God, I don't even know what name applies to these. They are beyond big now, right? I think eventually there's going to be a clash of the titans, and it's going to be pretty messy for all the rest of us. But I think after they've taken all the money from humanity, these 3 or 4 billionaires or whatever, they're going to go after each other, and it'll be fun to watch. But I don't think it's going to happen for a while yet. They're still sponging up little bits of money from around the world to put into their bank accounts, and eventually, when it becomes harder and harder to do, they're going to be attacking each other directly. And that's my prediction right here, is that these the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elons and the Google bros are going to be coming at each other tooth and nail when they've sucked all of us dry, because there won't be any more money to get from anybody, and they'll be getting it from each other. That will be the only source, and they'll realize this, and they'll have to go at each other. It's just going to be like Godzilla versus what was the giant moth, but even worse than that, because one of them will look like Mark Zuckerberg, and like it'll just be, oh my God, it'll make for a good Saturday Night Live episode. But the thing is, no one will ever see it because the platforms control all the ways to get there. Anyway, now I'm not depressed. I sound down and frustrated, but I'm not, because we've raised over $10,000. All the work, reaching out and punching through the platforms and connecting with people directly, sending them text messages, sending them emails, sending them email is another thing that's still reasonably free and clear, a clear way to market. Email, text message, podcasting. Those are the three methods now that are relatively unobstructed for spreading a message. I used those 3. I managed to raise over $10,000. I know I was going for 50, and in a perfect world, 50 would do it and would cover the job. there's still 2 days left, and I'm hoping maybe a rich angel donor, because I know we have extraordinarily wealthy people who used to read Tribe and are in Canada here. I mean, some of the billionaires, one of the billionaires of Canada used to read Tribe. And he actually should make a sizable donation. But you see, he's not hearing about this message because of the platforms. The most important component of the digitization project is locked down now. So in order to do this digitization, I need a calibrated monitor. And there are various ones you can get, but there's only really one brand that works that is absolutely required for this kind of work. And these monitors cost like $5,000, and they're not like big screen TVs. There's only a 27-inch monitor that costs that much money. And the reason why it costs that much money is that the colors are super accurate on it. And this is the first piece. This is like a $5,000 monitor. So that's out of the way with all this money raised. And that was a daunting expense for me personally to do. Like to reach in and find that and pay $5,000 for a monitor. But because of the crowdsourcing and because the people I reached out to, they saw value in this project for Canadian culture, and just because they remember the scene, right? They remember what it was like, and they want to see these photos again, and so do I. So that's why they chipped in, I think, the ones I reached out to. Now, there are a couple that heard. I did some spots on community radio. I did some appearances, and it was like, I got a huge donation from a community radio show. Now, this is not mainstream radio. This is like university, right? Radio, community radio that are usually based these days in university campuses. Now, they have reach of people who just don't want to listen to mainstream radio. So these are the channels to explore when you're going to launch a marketing thing or a fundraising campaign. Look at channels that are not the traditional ones, and really think about, run some small advertising tests on Facebook if you want to see, or on Meta properties, but just run small tests. Don't spend all your money there, because if you're not getting anything from it except grief from spammers, then you can put your money elsewhere. Maybe even an ad in a community radio station. They don't feed their cattle macadamia nuts. I don't even think they have cattle, most of them. Maybe in Texas, at a university community radio station, they might have cattle, but certainly not here in Canada. And so that's something to consider. The campaign has been such a learning experience for me. I mean, I've learned so much about myself. I had to learn how to ask people for money, which was really hard to do. Nobody likes asking people for money. Nobody does, but it's a learned skill, like the hula hoop or yo-yos or roller skating. It's a learned skill. That's all it is, and that's what I had to learn in order to do it, right? So I've learned that. I've also learned, like I say, so much about how the communication space has changed. I thought I understood it properly, but now I understand it properly, and we are truly fucked unless we can pry away our agency, get our agency and our control back from the platforms. God knows what will happen to us, because humans need to communicate with each other, and if these lunatics are in between people and sucking the revenue out and controlling the messages going back and forth between us, it's no wonder the world seems so fucked, right? So something has to happen there to stop these platforms, so to stop them from changing our communications with each other, because I think that's a large part of the problem here in communication space. If you're going to launch a fundraising campaign, be aware of all this stuff. You're going to be battling against you're going to be swimming against the tide, or against the river, or stream, or upstream, or whatever. You're going to be running against the wind, because you're going to have to punch through all the platforms to reach your people. So figure out other ways to do it, and you'll be successful. Which, I did. We're at 20% of what we want. There's still a couple of days left. Maybe a rich billionaire will come through with the rest of the money. If not, I'm going to approach some arts funding entities in Ontario. I'm going to go again. I'm still awaiting a response from my second letter to Canada's Heritage Minister. I've invited her to come down for a photo op here at the studio as she hands a check over for the balance of the funds needed to preserve this important Canadian cultural archive. This is what I've offered to her. I said to her, I wrote a letter. I'm waiting for the response. I said, look, this is $50,000. You said you had no discretionary budget for this, and there are no programs that cover digitization of important cultural archives, except this list of course, museums might be able to get some grant for doing it. However, none of them can do it because this job is too big for them. We've reached out to the largest ones, and they can't do it. So the list of entities that they might fund someday that could do it can't do it. So I explained that to the heritage minister. I also explained that, look, $50,000 is nothing. Your government there has been no good news stories coming out of your government for the last, 7, 8 years now? Just nothing but news of scandals and money waste and corrupt, like $1 billion to the auditor general identified as being like no controls on the spending, like no record, like just going to friends of the government. Like this is like billions of dollars. And for the heritage minister to begrudge $50,000, now $40,000 towards an important Canadian cultural project, she has, as minister, the discretionary joie de vivre or agency to reallocate money within budgets. Like look at this, all these museums who can access these digitization grants that none of them can do. None of them can do the work at this scale. Maybe take some of that money and come down here to the studio. We're not that far away from Ottawa. This is what I offered her in the letter. I'll post all this I'll post this all on our site so you can see the communications record of the efforts I put in to try and get money out of the heritage minister for an important Canadian cultural project. But anyway, I offered her, I said, look, come down here and in the studio, and you can get a nice photograph for your social media feeds of how you're supporting Canadian music. It's that simple. And you can be in Ottawa and back in Ottawa in 2 hours. You can drive there and back. It's a drive of 2 hours. You can have a nice photo. You can show everyone how you're supporting Canadian culture. So I've put that offer out to her. We'll see what happens. She might come down after this campaign is over and put the government of Canada behind this important project. I mean, look, when I published the magazine, the government of Canada funded the design and printing of our media kits. They've already participated in the magazine, so I don't know what their problem is now. I do, actually. It's this government. It's this heritage minister. But anyway, I've given her some options that would be good for them and good for the Canadian culture and the preservation of Canadian music history. Whether or not she will avail herself of this opportunity is, who knows? Well, I'll wait. But anyway, I'm going to make this project happen with what I have. When the campaign ends, I'll total it all up and we'll see what more we need and what more we can do, and we'll make it happen. Okay, that's what I've learned about trying to market in this new world. I didn't mention anything about web pages. Now there's web pages used to be the place. If you had a web page, this was your home base, and you could put your products and you could put your message on there as your living room, man. You could you could make it the way you wanted, and you still can do all that. But the thing is, nobody's going to find it because Google now has decided they're not going to send you traffic. If somebody searched for your web page on Google, they're likely not even going to find, unless they type in the URL exactly, they're not going to find it. I did an interview with a young journalist about the fundraising campaign. This is a very young journalist, like a Gen Z journalist. And she was asking me some questions about this campaign that I was doing to raise money to protect this collection. And she said, I was Googling and there's nothing about you on Google. And I was Googling electronic music stuff and DJs. There's nothing about any of it. She said, Google doesn't work for us. And I thought that was telling, but it was also something I didn't really understand. The Gen Z people are not using Google. And if they are, they're not getting, when they type in search queries, they're not getting results. They are not getting results. You assume that when you advise somebody to Google something, if they did it, they might actually find the answer. But no, that's not happening anymore. There's no answer there now. What it is advertising, or what Google thinks you want to know based on all your browsing for the last 10 years. they've determined that this is what you need to know. It doesn't matter whether you want to find your friend's website or not. They've been studying your traffic, your behavior for like fucking since you've been Googling stuff and sending Gmails or whatever you do on their platform, and through index pixels and shit. They've been tracking you for decades. And when you search for something on Google, your search results are going to be much different than mine. They're going to be completely different. Now, the thing is, they should be the same. That's what I think. They should be exactly the same. It should be an index. It shouldn't be some kind of shaped thing, right? So think about that when you're about to launch some kind of ad campaign or marketing campaign or fundraising campaign on the internet. These are all the things you should know before you even begin. And then if you don't believe me, run small tests. Don't commit a lot of money. Run small tests to test out advertising efficacy on Meta or on TikTok or wherever you're trying to spread your message. First, don't spend any advertising and then measure that. Then spend a little bit and measure that. And then compare and see if there's anything going on, if there's any difference. See if you buy ads on Meta platforms and you're not getting donations because of it, stop buying ads on the platform. It's that simple. Or if it's too painful to buy ads on the platform, if every time you do you're getting spammed and harassed on the platform, then it's time to stop buying ads on that platform. It's that simple. And if more and more people do that, more and more people understand that their ads are not really going where they think they're going, then these platforms will get less powerful. But I don't think that's a strategy to make that happen. I think eventually they're too big now. They're above the law. They're above nation states now. What's going to have to happen is they're going to have to go at each other and like a clash of the titans. And what comes out of that, who knows? Anyway, that was a really joyous summer Cannabis Goldsmith episode, wasn't it? I'll let you know next week what the final tally was at the end of the fundraising campaign. But then we'll get back to jewelry. What I'm working on today, I'm working on the big leaf belt buckle. I started filing it down with Swiss files, and I broke one of my files, the coarse file. These Swiss files are so nice because they're accurate. They're perfect for jewelry work. But the ones I have are tiny, right? They're meant for rings and small objects like earrings when you're filing tiny little objects. But this belt buckle is huge, right? So I like my father used to do is use the wrong tool for the job. I was using a tiny little Swiss file, coarse Swiss file on this huge belt buckle, and the file broke, right? So I was like, fuck. So I had to order new files from Toronto, and they just arrived yesterday. And I ordered large files. Now, these are normal files like you would see at a hardware store, big files, right? But the cut on them, the abrasive or grit, not grit, but the cut, it's called the cut on the file. There's coarse, and there's medium and fine, and these are even finer than that, so they're like super fine, but big files, so I can apply more pressure without worrying about breaking the file on the piece. And the work will go faster with the proper sized file. So now I have those files. I have started filing on the belt buckle yesterday. It's coming along nicely. It's going to be just a beauty. And then I'm going to redesign the web page, put them up there on the front, and hopefully Google maybe will refer some people to the page. Or if somebody's looking for sterling silver cannabis leaf belt buckle, by some random chance, they will find us. Hopefully. You never know, though, these days, do you? That's it for me this week. Kind of a glum show, but get out there in the sun, jump into a lake, a pond, the ocean, some river, get near water. I'm going to go swimming. It's so hot now. We're in this heat dome or whatever the hell it is. I'm going to go into the river, the St. Lawrence River, later today, and I'm going to go stand in it and probably smoke a joint and look over at America. And that's what I'm going to do today. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.